My name is Daniel Cross. I'm 41 years old, and for most of my life I believed I was the kind of man who could recognize danger before it reached my doorstep. I grew up in Cincinnati, worked my way into a stable career in logistics, bought a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, and thought I understood people well enough to know who deserved my trust. But betrayal doesn't shout, it whispers. It grows in the moments you overlook because you love someone too much to question them. And that's exactly how Emma entered my life quietly, beautifully. Like a calm before a storm I was too blind to read. I met her at a vendor conference in Chicago. I remember the exact moment. She was standing near a window, sunlight turning her dark hair almost copper, laughing with a colleague about something I never heard but pretended I did. She turned, smiled at me, and that smile rewired my entire future without asking permission. We moved fast, too fast maybe, but at the time it felt natural. When she moved into my house a year later, I thought I had finally found the person I could build something with, someone calm, honest, soft in all the ways life had made me hard. But love makes you blind, trust finishes the job. For a long time, everything felt right. She woke before me, made coffee just the way I liked it, sent little texts throughout the day, waited at the door when I came home late. Small things, things that seemed like love. But now when I replay those moments, they feel rehearsed, like lines she had memorized to play the role of the perfect partner while living a different life behind the curtain. The shift happened slowly, a late meeting here, a work trip extended there, smiles that didn't reach her eyes, conversations that died before they began, and the silence, a cold, calculating quiet that stretched between us like a warning I couldn't decode at the time. But the real fracture came one night 3 months ago. I found her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter, a message, a name I didn't recognize, and a line that turned my stomach into stone. He suspects something, be careful. At first, I thought I misread. At second, I prayed I had. At third, when I opened the thread and saw the weeks, no, months of messages, I knew I hadn't misread anything. I had simply ignored the truth staring me in the face. They talked about me, about our home, about plans she was making that didn't include me, about the nights she told me she was staying late, about the lies she crafted like someone writing fiction, creative, polished, believable. But what cut the deepest wasn't the flirting, or the innuendos, or even the plans to meet. It was the line, don't worry, he'll never see it coming. He trusts me too much. That sentence broke something in me, not anger, not jealousy, just a quiet, violent clarity. Because her betrayal wasn't spontaneous, it was intentional, crafted, planned, carefully executed. In that moment, standing in the kitchen with her phone glowing in my hand, I realized something brutal. She didn't just cheat on me. She played me. She studied me. She used my love as a weapon because she thought I was too blind to ever fight back. She underestimated me. And from that second on, something inside me shifted permanently. I didn't confront her. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I simply walked into the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and made a promise I had never made before. You will not destroy me, but I will destroy your lies. What happened next, none of them saw coming. I didn't sleep that night, not because of panic or heartbreak, those came later. What kept me awake was something colder, cleaner, almost surgical: focus. I lay beside Emma, listening to her breathe peacefully, the same woman who had spent months coordinating lies with another man, while using my chest as her pillow. The hypocrisy was almost elegant. Around 3 a.m., she shifted, murmured something, placed her hand on my arm as if nothing in her world was wrong. And for the first time since I met her, I felt absolutely nothing. The next morning, she kissed my cheek, told me she'd be working late again. I smiled, agreed, played my role perfectly. But from that moment, I wasn't her partner anymore. I was the man collecting evidence. The first step was simple: information. Emma guarded her privacy like a second skin. But people always underestimate the person they think will never fight back. Her laptop password, the same one she used for our grocery app, her email logged in, her messages sent across devices. Her digital life opened in front of me like a crime scene. She had entire folders of pictures with him, videos, hotel bookings under fake business trip names, and worst of all, notes, plans, discussions about how to transition out of our relationship in a way that left her with most of what we built together. She'd been preparing to walk away for months, while sleeping beside me, while telling me she loved me. But what disturbed me wasn't the affair itself. It was how strategic she was. It wasn't passion. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't emotions. It was manipulation, pure and calculated. She wanted security from me, excitement from him, and a future that didn't require honesty to achieve. Learning that truth didn't devastate me, it sharpened me, because now I had clarity. The next phase was observation. I began tracking her movements, not illegally, just smartly. I checked her receipts, her calendar, her late work nights, her GPS history, which she didn't know since our shared car app. Patterns emerged quickly. Every Tuesday and Thursday she met him at a hotel downtown. Every second Saturday she lied about brunch with a friend. Every morning at 9 she texted him a long update like they were running some kind of covert mission. It was astonishing, like watching a stranger wearing Emma's face. And as I observed her lies, I felt something terrifyingly calm. I wasn't angry anymore. I was preparing. Then came the day, the moment I realized her betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was financial. I found a document she'd been drafting, a private rental application, signed under her maiden name, with her new boyfriend listed as the emergency contact. She was planning to move out, quietly, suddenly, right after transferring several joint savings accounts into her personal one. Her plan was clean, efficient, cruel, and she expected I'd just accept it because I was the stable one, the calm one, the man she believed would never raise his voice, never fight back, never call her out. She thought she knew me. She thought I was predictable. But betrayal doesn't create the sane man. It creates someone new, someone who sees the world without illusions, someone who learns to strike at the right moment. That night, I sat in my car outside the hotel where she met him, watching her silhouette in the window as she laughed with a man she didn't know. I had already researched, identified, and connected the dots on. He wasn't just her affair. He had a past, one he'd probably never told her, and the moment I learned who he really was, my plan changed entirely, because the truth didn't just break my heart. It gave me leverage, dangerous leverage. I didn't confront Emma, not yet. People like her perform best when they think they're not being watched, and I needed her to keep performing, lying, sneaking out, meeting him, because the more she acted naturally, the more pieces of the puzzle fell straight into my hands. But part 3 wasn't about gathering evidence anymore. I already had enough of that to bury the both of them socially, financially, and professionally. No, part 3 was about something else. It was about understanding the enemy. And Emma. She wasn't the only enemy in this story. The man she was cheating with, the one she whispered with late at night, the one she described as just a coworker. His existence bothered me less than the feeling that his involvement with her wasn't accidental. So I dug deeper, and what I found was the first real crack in her perfect little affair. The guy's name, at least the one he introduced to her, was Daniel Keaton. Nice, clean, sharp-sounding name. If you were careless, you wouldn't question it. But names leave footprints. Digital ones, legal ones, financial ones. And his didn't match. He had 2 different addresses listed under variations of his name, 3 different job titles across different databases, and a phone number tied to a company that technically didn't exist, a ghost hiding under business casual and fake sincerity. His social media was clean to clean, professionally curated, no friends tagged, no family, No personal photos, just someone who looked like he appeared out of thin air. And that's where my suspicion sharpened into certainty. This man wasn't just an affair. He was running from something. When I finally found a record that matched his real identity, the truth clicked like a loaded chamber. A restraining order from 6 years ago, filed by a woman. Then another 2 years later, filed by a different woman. Then a dismissed case involving workplace harassment. And all of it sealed quietly behind legal agreements and confidential settlements. Someone like Emma, emotionally impulsive, validation hungry, easily impressed, was the perfect target. She thought she picked him, but everything pointed to the opposite. He picked her, someone predictable, someone naive enough to feed ego without asking real questions, someone with a stable man at home whose existence gave him cover. And the more I read, the more one thought kept returning: she wasn't just cheating on me. She was being used. And she was too blinded by excitement to see it. What hurt wasn't the betrayal anymore. It was the stupidity, the recklessness, the absurd risk she brought into our home. A manipulator like him doesn't just disappear quietly. He leaves damage behind. And Emma, she was perfect prey. But while Emma played romance with a man she barely knew, I played something far colder. I started tracking their conversations, not just their meetings, her emails to him, his responses, the subtle pressure he put on her. He encouraged her to assert independence, to stop relying financially on her husband, to break away from the comfortable cage she'd built. This wasn't seduction. It was grooming. I wasn't looking at a love affair. I was watching a slow-motion con aimed at draining her emotionally and financially before he vanished like he did with other women. And she had no idea. But now I did. And that changed everything, because once I understood who he truly was, my strategy shifted. This wasn't just about catching Emma in a lie. It was about controlling the fallout. The goal wasn't rage or revenge. Not anymore. The goal was outplaying both of them at the same time. And that meant striking at the perfect moment. But while I was preparing, while I was calculating every angle, every step, Emma was making her own moves too. And the move she made next was the one that lit the fuse. Emma's shift in behavior was subtle at first, small, almost invisible changes that only someone paying close attention would catch. And I was paying attention to everything. She started leaving the house earlier, coming home later, claiming she was taking on more responsibilities at work. Her makeup changed, sharper lines, darker tones. Her clothes too more fitted, more intentional. Not for me, for him. But the real change wasn't external. It was her confidence, a kind of buoyant, reckless confidence I had never seen in her before. She moved like someone who believed she had already won, someone who thought she was outsmarting the man she slept beside every night. She thought I was still the old Daniel, predictable, complacent, blind. She had no idea how far from that man I had drifted. The fuse lit the moment I discovered the money. Our joint account, steady and touched, consistent for years, had a withdrawal, not large enough to set off bank alerts, not small enough to ignore. Just intentional. $2,400, pulled quietly, moved to an account I didn't recognize. At 2:17 p.m. during the exact window she claimed she was in a meeting, I checked the pattern. It wasn't the first. She'd been siphoning money for weeks. The money she was saving for her escape, for her new life, for him. It should have hurt, but it did in single quotas. It only clarified the next step. That night, she came home smelling different. Not perfume, not sweat, adrenaline. She walked into the kitchen, dropped her bag, and started talking about her day with a strange glow in her eyes. Never once suspecting the laptop she left open behind her held the truth of every lie. Then she said it, a small line offhand, delivered too casually. "You know, I've been thinking about taking a little trip next month, just for myself, to recharge, a month from now." The same week her secret apartment lease started. She looked at me while she lied, and for the first time I truly saw her as someone I didn't know at all. Someone who could look me in the eye while preparing to walk out with half the life I built. I could have confronted her, could have demanded answers, could have exploded, but anger is loud. Revenge is quiet. So I nodded, suggested she take a weekend instead, asked gentle, harmless questions. She smiled, relieved. She thought I was coolest. That was the night I realized something deeper, something darker. Emma wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing the advantage she thought she had. And when someone like her senses the dynamic shifting, they panic. And she did. I caught her that same night. Not cheating, no. I'd already seen enough of that. I caught her searching my phone while she thought I was asleep. I lay there, eyes closed, breath steady, feeling her fingertips swipe across the screen. She tried my passcode, failed, tried again, failed, tried a third time, failed. Her breathing changed short, shaky. She was trying to see if I knew anything, trying to measure how close the truth was to her. She returned the phone quietly, thinking I hadn't felt a thing, but I did, and that was when the last of my patience evaporated. She wasn't just lying to me. She wasn't just cheating. She wasn't just stealing. She was trying to get ahead of me, trying to control the narrative before she disappeared with the money she drained, the man she barely knew, and the life she'd built on my stability. What she didn't know was that I was already miles ahead of her. I started phase 3 the very next morning. First, I secured the finances. Then I isolated every account. Then I set up monitoring on both of their digital footprints. Then I documented everything: texts, emails, transfers, hotel logs. And while I was preparing my exit strategy, carefully threading each piece into place like a surgeon, Emma made the biggest mistake of all. A mistake that exposed just how deep the manipulation went. A mistake not even she could explain away. I found something she meant to delete. A message from him. And what it said changed the entire game. The message wasn't long. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't even explicit. But it was enough to collapse everything I thought I understood about what Emma had been doing behind my back. It read, "Once he's out of the picture, we can finally start fresh. Don't lose your nerve now, not when you leave him, not when you end things properly, not when the timing is right. Once he's out of the picture." A phrase with edges sharp enough to cut through bone. Suddenly, all the small inconsistencies, the money she moved, the insurance policy she pushed for, the new business trip she scheduled, the way she watched me lately when she thought I wasn't looking, they lined up like a row of dominoes ready to fall. This wasn't just betrayal. This was planning. This was intention. This was danger. And the worst part, she thought she was smart enough to get away with it. The moment I read that message, something inside me shifted. Not anger, not heartbreak, not fear, something colder, a clarity I had never felt before. I realized Emma wasn't just cheating. She wasn't just escaping. She wasn't just using me. She was preparing to erase me. Maybe not literally, maybe not violently, but financially, legally, socially, emotionally. She wanted to walk away clean with a new man, a new apartment, a new life, all paid for by the man she intended to discard like faulty furniture. I stared at the message for a long time, my mind quiet, dangerously still. Then I whispered, not in anger, but in absolute certainty, "Not me, not ever." The next 72 hours were the most calculated of my life. I didn't confront her. I didn't accuse her. I didn't even look at her differently. In fact, I became gentler, softer, more trusting. The version of me she believed she could fool. Because people like Emma make their biggest mistakes when they think the game is already won. While she texted him under the table, I was transferring every document to a secured external drive. While she took late meetings, I was compiling enough evidence to destroy any narrative she tried to build. While she smiled at me across the dinner table, believing I was blind, I was preparing her downfall with the same calmness I once brought to loving her. The breaking point came on a Thursday. She walked into the house, humming while texting him with that private smile she never used with me anymore. I Watched her cross the room, watched her hang her coat, watched her pretend to be someone innocent. And that was the moment I decided I was done pretending. No screaming, no chaos, no accusations. Just truth. I printed the message, placed it gently on the kitchen counter, along with bank statements, photos, screenshots, video clips, dates, times, everything, a mosaic of betrayal. When she walked into the kitchen, she froze, her eyes crawled across the papers slowly at first, then faster, then frantically as reality sank razor deep into her. I watched her face collapse, shock, horror, guilt, panic, each emotion flickering like a broken bulb. She looked up at me with a face I'll never forget. "Daniel, I can explain." I shook my head. "No, you really can't." Her mouth opened again, but nothing came out. She knew, she understood. For once she saw how small she actually was. Then I said the one sentence that ended everything. "You tried to build a future without me. Now I'm going to make sure you have no future with him." And I did. Legally, silently, completely. She lost the apartment. He lost his job. Their little world fell apart before it even began. And neither of them ever learned how deep my preparations went. People think revenge feels like fire. It doesn't. It feels like ice. Sharp, precise, controlled. And when it's over, when the last move is made and the last lie is exposed, there's nothing left but silence. Beautiful, peaceful silence. Emma tried to ruin me. Instead, she revealed who she truly was, and I walked away intact while she was left standing in the ruins she'd built herself.